All right. Welcome into Jets Nation Radio, episode 5. I'm Angus Hout. Across from me is Sam Brownell, your handsome smile.
Yeah, it's our first, really our first Zoom one together.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I am moving from Dauphin down to Winnipeg. I'm very excited about the move, but we won't be able to do these live.
Yeah, and this week I'm on vacation, so I'm out of the good old Dauphin, so we're gonna do this one via Zoom. It'll be a good test. I think next week we might have a chance to do it together in person one last time, but I'll be in Winnipeg a little bit. Gives me an excuse to visit the family.
Exactly. So. And big shout out to you taking time off on your vacation to not just do this podcast once, but twice, because we needed to do an emergency podcast because Mason Appleton
yes,
signed.
We had recorded this last night, and then Appleton went and signed for a bunch of money, more than we expected. And instead of sounding very wrong, we figured we'd just do it again.
Yeah. So good old internet. I'm actually kind of glad that we got to redo this one. So instead of sounding like a couple of goobers, we get to sound absolutely correct. So Appleton signs a 3-year deal at an AAV of
2,167.
Yeah. So basically the first year is a 2-year or as a $2 million season. And then after that, it's 2.25. So it's more money than I expected, but you know what? Good for Appleton for getting paid.
You know what? I can't remember the exact number I had predicted the first time we had talked about this, but it was significantly lower than that. I thought he was going to be asking for about 2 mil, and the team was going to be going for about like 1.2, 1.3, and they were going to meet somewhere in the middle. So I was pretty surprised when I saw what the actual number came out to.
Yeah. And like at first I was kind of like, really, you're paying that much for Appleton? But when we discussed this last night, I mean, he's a great penalty killer. He's one of 3 right-handed guys on the Jets front end. So,
and quite frankly, like he did have a down year last year, but he has shown in the past when he's played full seasons with the Jets that he has some talent. I don't think he's going to be quite like a Cop. I don't think he's quite as talented as Cop is, but he could show with more consistent pairings, a good lineup, playing penalty kill with Lowry on Lowry's wing all year. You never know what the two of them could do together. They might be able to drive play pretty well.
Yeah. Well, and like I saw people on social media this morning, once I got my post out, that they just weren't excited for that third line because Svechnikov isn't there. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, third line, but you need Morgan Barron playing. So as much as I want to see Svech back with Morgan Barron, Appleton, and Lowry, it's going to be a sick line.
Yeah, I think Barron's shown that he should absolutely be a mainstay. I mean, he was playing really well when he was up with the Jets, and then he went down to the Moose and dominated while he was down there. So he's a big guy. He's young. I think that was a great like throw-in piece by Chevy in that Cop trade.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So Chevy just doesn't lose trades. We talked about that last week. So good on Cheveldale for winning another trade, getting Morgan Barron, and that third line is going to be stellar with the Jets. I mean, like if somebody could step up and take Lowry's spot on the third line, sweet, especially if they're playing relatively the same minutes, but I'm stoked about this third line.
Yeah, I don't think Lowry's going to be the guy that will move out of there. I think if anything, it would be Appleton going down to like the 4th line center because he's originally a center. I believe. I think it would be Appleton going down to that 4th line center and Lowry. I do think with new coaching, and I don't think it'll be the same as it has in the past where the 4th line's getting like 4 to 6 minutes a night and the top 2 lines are getting 25. I think it will be spread out a whole lot better. I hope it is, with Nick Ehlers playing closer to 19 to 20 minutes a night rather than the 15 he's been getting in the past. So I think it'll be interesting to see. I'm not as familiar with Bonus as some, so I'm not sure kind of how he spreads out the playing time and even how he spreads out the lines, because not every team just top loads those first couple lines. Some might spread out the scoring a bit more. And we talked about that a bit yesterday with the potential of Wheeler playing some third line minutes.
Yeah. So you think if Appleton goes down to the 4th line to play center, do you think that like who takes in that right slot on the third line then?
It could be one of the younger guys. I'm not really sure. I do still think that the Jets need to make another depth signing, just to shore out that bottom six and make sure, because right now there's absolutely no depth. And I think if one of the guys who is slotted in there right now gets injured, it could be an issue. And even if Appleton's on the right side on the fourth line, he doesn't necessarily need to be a center because Toninado's in that spot. I know I'm a big fan of Gustafson. I think it's time that he'll take a bit of a step this year and might get some more time with the big squad. So I'm really not sure how that lineup's going to end up looking. It'll be interesting to see once training camp opens, who's playing with who, once the preseason starts, kind of who's getting that opportunity to play together.
Yeah, and I think like from what I've seen of Bonus and his teams, it's going to be a lot more even playing time. It's like obviously you're not going to be playing your fourth line 15 minutes a night, but you know they're probably going to see closer to 9 to 12 minutes a night with Bonus as the head coach. So if those guys are willing and ready to play, they're probably going to see a whole lot more ice time. Like I bet you we're going to see a lot more Harkins than anyone really expects.
Yeah, I also think that there's going to be a bit more accountability for the top end guys. So those Scheifele's, Wheelers, I think when they're not playing well, they're not going to be seeing those big minutes every night. Whereas since the Jets have moved here, at least since Maurice took over, it has been, you can chalk those guys up to 19 to 24 minutes a night, no matter what. And I don't think that's good long-term. I think that wears guys down. And by the time the playoffs come around, they're just going to be beat up. And especially as guys like Wheeler and even Scheifele's starting to get up there. I mean, he was drafted in 2011. What's he, 30 now?
29. But yeah, no, in his late 20s.
I mean, that he's got 8 years in the NHL or something under his belt. So I do think that these guys are going to need to start playing less minutes. And it's the same thing with Hellebuck. I don't think he should play 65 70 games a year, because by the time the playoff rolls around, you're just going to be beat up. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like your body's going to be sore. You're not going to be playing quite to that top quality.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Cujo played, I think it was like 79 games in the late 90s for the Edmonton Oilers. And he even did like the same thing with the Toronto Maple Leafs in the early 2000s. So, I mean, it is possible, but yeah, once you get into the playoffs, it's like, who do you expect Dave Rittich to be your guy? Like, I'd have no issue with it. Just be like, listen, Dave, you rest. And like the last month you play, and then we get you right into the playoffs. So, I mean, it's possible, but
wait, you think Rittich being the guy in the playoffs, or
yeah,
you're saying in the end of the season leading up to it?
I mean, both. So you get him to play in the last month, and then it's like, if you believe in Dave Rittich and you just want to ride Hellebuck to get you to the playoffs, he's going to win you so many more games.
No.
You believe in the mayhem there, Samuel.
Absolutely not. That's insane.
I know,
but that's a Vezina winning goalie.
I know
he's your guy, and he's shown that he can do it in the playoffs too.
Yeah, but I mean,
I do think Rittich should get more time. Like Rittich last year barely played any games, which was a major issue for him because he couldn't get into any rhythm. I think you need to give him more games during the regular season, and he'll be at the top of his game if that's the case. And he's shown like he's an all-star goalie in the NHL.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I think if you get him more games during the regular season, he's going to get you the wins you need. And Hellebuck's going to step up and do his part. And with this new, more defensive system where there's more accountability for these top end players like a Scheifele, Wheeler, what was Scheifele -17 last year? That's atrocious.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there will be more of a, hey, you need to actually play on the defensive side of things for those guys. And both Hellebuck and Rittich are going to have some bounce back years.
Yeah, I need to spend a little bit of money and go check out Jay Fresh and just see what all of the real fancy numbers of these guys are. But I really think what needs to happen here with the goaltending situation is they need to run these guys. Basically, you run until you're cold. So if you've got like 4 or 5 really hot starts, great, you keep playing. But until like if Hellebuck has just a stinker of a game, you run Rittich until he's out of gas. I think this back and forth will help these guys push themselves to the ultimate limit.
Yeah, I do think there's a degree of that rising tide lifts all ships, but I mean, there's no way around it. Like Hellebuck is your guy.
Yep.
and
But I mean, like
Hellebuck
when you
will
have two
be.
all-star goaltenders like that, like I think you have to let them duel it out. And getting Dave Rich on that contract that he's at, I think you force him to do it. And I think
Yeah,
he's going to prove that he's like, I want to go get paid one more time. Dave Rittich should be able to play, I think, 35 to 40 games this year. And I think he should push Hellebuck around.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
It,
I the thing that worries me about you have one bad game, you might be sitting for like a couple weeks is that's a lot of pressure. And yeah, there is the competition's good, but you don't want in the back of your mind to be always thinking like, oh, if I mess up on one save, I'm going to be sitting for a couple weeks. You do need a little bit of leeway. Like these guys are human beings. They're going to make mistakes here and there.
And I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, you lost by a single goal, but I'm saying like if you have a rough game, because I mean, Hellebuck had a couple of rough games last year where it's like, okay, Eric Comrie should be popping in here for 2 to 3 until Eric Comrie gets cold again. Because I mean, we could have easily had probably another 4 or 5 games of Eric Comrie.
I think they definitely should have got Comrie some more time last year. And yeah, I definitely think like if you get run out of the building, maybe take a game or two off.
Mm-hmm.
But like, Hellebuck's a guy that likes to get right back at it. And sometimes, you know what? Hellebuck's numbers the game after getting pulled are unbelievably good.
Yeah.
So I think you need to take that. And I mean, Wade Flaherty knows his guys and he's going to be doing an outstanding job there. I think he'll get Riddick right back into form of maybe not like his all-star form as he was before when he was in Calgary, but I think he's definitely going to have that bounce back year.
Yeah, we just got to hope that the hockey gods aren't still pissed about the stick flip.
What's the stick flip?
So it was an Edmonton Calgary game like in 2019. Went into a shootout. Draisaitl couldn't score on the third one. And so after the Flames won, Rittich skated by the Oilers bench and flipped his stick in front of them and skated off the ice super cocky. And his numbers have never been the same since.
I don't. That's pretty funny. I mean, he seems to be like a pretty outgoing guy, at least looking at his interview after he signed with the Jets, like his media availability. He seemed to be having fun with it, and he knows that he had an off year. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, well, I think he replaces Eric Comrie and just being a good smiley guy in the room. Like you said, he joked with the media and he just said some stuff. You're like, I like this guy so much.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, that Comrie not being there, not only on like because he played unreal, he was talented, not only on that side, but Comrie, I'm getting a phone call.
Dang.
Sorry, Mom.
Oh,
no,
sorry,
I
Mom.
declined it. So sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Eric
so
Comrie
I think
was
Comrie not being there is a problem, or not a problem, but the room wasn't good. But Comrie was a guy who everyone seemed to love. So that is going to help in the room, even when the room isn't great. So I think losing that piece, hopefully a guy like Riddick can come in and kind of bring the guys together a little bit.
Yeah, no, I was listening to someone talk about more or less just Winnipeg as a whole over the last 2 years, and they're just talking about like the city has been in a weird vibe, but I think like all the Jets players taking the summer off, they've had Josh Morrissey's wedding to go hang out and enjoy themselves. They've had like a couple of time, like they've had the time just to
Appleton's wedding and Schmidt's wedding.
Yeah, so there's been all this stuff. Like congratulations on everyone getting married this summer, especially to the same blonde robot. But
it's always Pionk got married this summer too.
Yeah. So lots of weddings, which is great. And I think everyone's just at that point where they're going to be a lot more relaxed in Winnipeg. I think this is going to be a season where it's like everyone was just stressed out, just pandemic wise. And I mean, we weren't Florida. We weren't down like we were locked down a whole lot more than a lot of other cities. So I think this year everyone's going to be a lot more relaxed. So moving forward, I don't think we're going to have as much anger and hostility in that locker room.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope having a new voice in there is going to help. And like, I know Lowry came in halfway through the last season. It was the same coach. Like he didn't change up anything. So I think having a new voice in there, a whole new, like Charlie Huddy's gone. He's been there since the Jets came back. Jamie Compon's gone. Like having a whole new coaching staff other than Wade Flaherty is going to be really good for the Jets.
Which, I mean, like, Wade Flaherty has earned his job, and I'm glad that he got to keep his. But yeah, no, like, Dave Lowry didn't even change up the lines. Like, well, I'm the head coach. I've done all I can do.
And I mean, yeah, like with the Wade Flaherty situation, you basically say to Hellebuck, who do you want? And he says, and I mean, and he's right, because you look at Brossoit, who came in, and no one in Winnipeg really knew who he was. He was amazing, went and got himself paid. Comrie came in. We were all dumping on him at the start of the season, saying, oh, he's not good enough. He's never going to be that NHL guy. And he showed he can do it. He went and got paid. So now it's Rittich's turn. I mean, the Jets might get solid backups going forward just because these guys see everyone comes in and then goes and gets paid.
Turns it around, which sucks they can't stick around. But even Connor Hellebuck, he came out of Texas, minor league Texas hockey, and like is arguably
the Jackalopes.
The Jackalopes.
What was it? Odessa. I think it was like Odessa Jackalopes or something.
Yeah. Like, who's going out to Odessa, Texas? And that guy ends up becoming probably the greatest Jets goaltender of all time. And I'll stand on that hill.
I mean, Andre Pavlik.
Come on. Happy
okay,
Bulin?
Maybe not. Yeah.
Happy Bulin in the 90s?
Yeah. Now, Hellebuck is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know how we turned an Appleton conversation into Hellebuck, but it's not hard to turn anything about the Jets into talking about Hellebuck, because he's just that guy.
I think we are the least focused Jets podcast out there.
Hey, I'm on vacation.
Yeah, but even on our
I was on the golf course when I heard about the Appleton news, and I rushed home to do this. So
and thank you for texting me, because I was like, I had another podcast to do, so I was like, I'm just not looking at Twitter all day long. It's gonna be a great day. And I got the text from you like, ooh, and I got to beat the Winnipeg Jets social media team by 3 whole minutes. So suck it, social media.
Well,
team.
Shout out to my brother-in-law who I was golfing with, because he's the one who actually told me the news. I wasn't on my phone at all. So
we gotta get like a group chat of Jets fans, so it's like we can stay on top of this stuff.
That sounds like a nightmare.
That sounds like the
called Jets Twitter.
Oh, please don't. That's an actual nightmare, and Jets Twitter needs to be a lot nicer. My God, is that obsessed?
Everyone be nice to Angus.
Yeah, I'm
doing
really
his best, guys.
I've got dyslexia, and I've got that. I don't know what I do, but I was like, yeah, good enough to tweet out, and it's like missing 2.5 words. Like, shit.
Oh boy.
That's why we podcast, and I have editors to read over my stuff.
There you go. Yeah. And so in the interest of social media and the dog days of summer, we also have a little surprise for everyone. We've come up with a bit of a Jets bracket as far as fighting goes. So we're not doing like favorite players. We're doing who do you think would win in a fight. So we've ranked the top 6, like the top half. I'm going to say we've ranked on like, we actually think, other than one little surprise in there, we've ranked how we actually think they would do. And then the bottom half, I got a little off the rails and threw some guys I think it would just be funny to see in there.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like I've seen your list, and I haven't seen the updated version of the list, but there is a couple of those fights. It's like, ooh, I would spend some good money on watching this. So let's go over this a little bit. So we have basically a bracketed fight that we're going to be posting on the Jets social media, Facebook, not Twitter, because I still need to get that password for that, but TikTok and Instagram as well. So you're basically going to be voting on a bracketed fight. The fights are going to be hypothetical ice hockey fights, and it's just a bracketed system. You win, you move on, and we just see who is the best fighter within the Winnipeg Jets. Sam, who is your guy to win this tournament?
Oh, well, it's going to be my number one. It's going to be a tough one. I don't really know how people feel, but my number one ranked guy is Adam Lowry. I think he's had 20 fights in a Jets uniform, so 20 NHL fights. He's a massive guy. He's willing to go at it with anyone. So like I always just go back to the Ryan Reeves fight in Vegas off the face. Like they sent Reeves out to take the face off, which obviously you just know something's going to go down because he's terrible. And Lowry not only held his own, I think he probably won that fight. So
100% he won that fight.
So he's just a beast. And I think I would have to go with Adam Lowry. What about you?
I'm a big Brennan Dillon guy here. Listen, this would be a gladiators fight. Like this one would go on and on. But I think overall, Brendan Dillon just got that thick boy energy. So he would just ultimately get the W.
He's got the crazy eye too. He's got the like kind of jacked up face and
like that. He like Marcus Foligno tried the old Superman punch on him and he took that, avoided that punch and still.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I think Logan Stanley might surprise. He might beat Dillon just because people see big. But
can't teach 6'7".
You can't teach 6'7", but you also can't teach 6'5". So
no.
That helps too. But yeah, I do think that it'll be one of those three for sure. And you never know. People like, because we're not deciding this. If we were deciding this, we could tell you who's in the finals right now. But
yeah,
it's gonna we'll see how people end up voting.
Okay, this one sounds a little ridiculous. Should we get over to your place, mix up some hockey teams, and just like have these fights go on, just see if we could get it going with the NHL?
We could do it.
We could technically stream that, like make a Jets Nation Twitch.
We could do that.
I think people like Twitch. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But so do we want to go 1 through 16, or do we want to just go straight into the matchups?
You know what? Let's go straight into the matchups, and then we'll vaguely talk about this.
Okay, so 1 seed Adam Lowry would be fighting 16 seed Mark Scheifele.
I mean,
I don't actually think Scheifele would be that low. I mean, he's an athlete, but I think he would be a bit higher on this list. I know they're all athletes, but like Scheifele's a very high end athlete. I just think it's funny to see him get his face punched in.
Yeah, right. But it'd be a good.
If I'm being honest,
it would just be a good, entertaining fight. But yeah, ultimately, Adam Lowry gets the big W on that one.
Absolutely,
Scheifele's gonna get a couple of good shots in, but yeah. No.
Remember, was it Alex Semin? His like flailing punch. I can almost see Scheifele doing that.
See, there's some of me that's like, yeah, he'd fight real soft, but he'd get like one good one in that would like half stun Lowry.
You might shock a guy, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's like after that half moment of shock, Lowry would just give him the old crazy eyes and just go ham.
I think once you get into like the 4, 5, 6, 7 range, I think Scheifele could actually have a good fight with those guys, but I had him lower on the list because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no.
Like I said, I got off the rails towards the end of the list a little bit.
We are the ones who create the list, so no one can tell us Boo earns.
So the next matchup, the top of the other bracket, Brendan Dillon against Kyle Connor. That's non-contest.
No, Connor just lies down and takes the L.
Yeah, that one's just it'll be a quick one.
Yeah.
Okay, after that, it is Logan Stanley, Dylan DeMello.
That would be a fantastic fight, but ultimately, Mr. 6'7" wins.
I mean, yeah, Stanley's tough. You've said in the past you don't think Stanley's a good fighter, and then you went back and watched them, and you changed your mind. He can throw him.
He can throw him. My issue with it is he doesn't always pick up the fights when he needs to. I've watched guys get run into the boards, and he's like, "Yep, that guy got hit."
There are definitely times you could have, and you don't always need to drop the glove. Sometimes you just need to put the guy on his ass.
Yeah,
a la Dustin Bufflin.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even need to grab two guys. You just need to grab one guy,
yeah,
grab him by the collar, and just be like, "Listen, don't fuck with my boys." Also, I guess we're cussing in these podcasts now.
Yeah. Okay. So the 4 seed Pierre-Luc Dubois against the 13 seed Josh Morrissey.
Great fight. PLD takes the W.
Yeah, I think so. He's just a beast.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen him fight that much, but he's just jacked. So like he's bound to be able to, if he lands one, Morrissey's done.
Yeah, well, and like his chirps too. Just like anytime I see him skating past the bench, you run and
he's just a rat, and I absolutely love it. He's gonna be a Jet forever.
He is. We're gonna be retiring both 13 and what was it? And 80. 80 and 13. We'll retire both numbers.
Yeah. Okay, so the 5 seed Morgan Barron. This is a guy I actually forgot to include in the list. Ended up sliding him in the 5 seed because he was a hell of a lot bigger than I expected. He's like 6'4", 220. And a lot of this, I'm going to be honest, a lot of this is based off of weight. because I don't know how guys fight. Like the top couple, we only see a handful of Jets fight each year. So I'm not basing this off of actual fights. So a lot of it, some of it was like, oh, I've seen this guy fight a couple times. We'll move him up from his weight class. But like Lowry wasn't one of the top weighted guys, but
He knows how to
heaviest,
fight.
I guess, would have been the word to use there. So yeah, Baron Morrissey or no, Baron Riddich. Yeah,
Baron.
Morgan Baron against 12 seed David Riddich. I like
Interesting.
throwing the goalies in there just because they're a little nutty. So you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so like entertaining fight. I think I give this one to Riddich, honestly.
Really?
Yeah,
See, I haven't seen Baron fight, so I haven't seen either
No,
of them fight. So
no, because
this
like
is where
both
it starts. This is where it starts to kind of go either way. It gets more to the middle, and I have some younger guys in there that might surprise a bit.
yeah,
You never
that's
know,
fair.
but I could see that one going either way.
Yeah.
But I do think Baron's gonna win it. He's got quite a size advantage over Riddich, and I mean, once you get the goalie equipment off, who knows how big a guy is?
Yeah, right. They all are just like, oh hey, you guys are pretty skinny. I mean, I'm always shocked when I see Hellebuck with no upper pads. He's just wearing his leg pads and like,
Yeah,
what the
it's
hell?
hilarious.
Where's the
It's a
rest
completely
of
different person. All right, then we have the 6 seed Blake Wheeler against the 11th seed Mr. 2.167 a year Mason Appleton.
Ooh, Wheeler and Appleton. I will ultimately give the big W to Wheels.
I think it's going to the captain. He's quite a bit bigger than Appleton.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like,
I mean, size ultimately matters in fights. Like,
yeah, it makes a big difference. But like the thing with Wheeler is like he doesn't regularly fight, but when he does, it's a
He's
show
tough.
you.
Yeah.
I'll show
Yeah.
you up. Like that Matty Kachuk one where he lost is like, you know what? I respect Blake Wheeler, and that's why he deserves to see on the ice.
Yeah. Off the ice is where the issues come.
Yeah, but
But
we'll
I
leave those
digress.
alone.
Here's my dark horse. I put him at the 7th seed. You know who it is.
You're gonna have to
Nikki Ehlers.
Nikki Ehlers.
I mean, he takes on the big guys.
He does.
He's fought Corey Perry, I think, a couple times. He's fought Ryan Getzlaff. He sometimes he'll keep one glove on. There was one fight I can't remember who he was beaten up on, but he had his glove on his left hand or his non-punching hand, had the guy's visor, and then was feeding him with the other hand. It was fantastic.
Man, yeah. Who is he taking on in this one?
He is taking on Connor Hellebuck.
You know what? And
Hellebuck's got the size.
Hellebuck's
in
got
that
the
one.
size, and like just like you see his eyes pop out through the mask, and like that terrifies me. So because I'm a guy that if I had played hockey growing up, I would have been a goaltender. So I'm gonna give my W to the goaltender here.
I do think I'm gonna have to agree with you there. That's the first upset I've had so far. Is Hellebuck, I think, would probably ultimately beat Ehlers, but Ehlers fights more than Hellebuck, so that's why he's the higher seed. And the final one, we have 8 seed Dylan Sandberg against 9 seed Jansen Harkins. So my original list, I had Harkins way lower, probably because I forgot him. But I ended up moving him up the list a little bit from he was originally the 14 and I moved him up to the 9.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts there?
Probably Sandberg gets the W overall.
I think you're probably right. Again, just because he's pretty big, but Harkins is bigger than you expect.
Yeah, he really is.
He's like 6'2" or 3. He's got some size to him.
Yeah, he's got some decent size to him, and he plays way harder than you think he would. Like one of my final articles for JetsNation.ca was about Jansen Harkins, and I just watched replays of him. I was like, this guy is so much better than anyone ever gave him credit for.
Yeah, he's a solid player. I like Harkins. He also wears number 12, which just holds a special place in my heart because of Jerome McGinley.
Iggy.
So yeah, I think that would be a good one, but ultimately I think Sandberg would win that one.
Yeah, 100%. So I'm glad we mostly agree on this list. I'll be putting this up all over social medias here this week, and I don't know how far into the bracket we'll be at that point, but we'll talk about it then.
I'm thinking I think we should do 2 a day.
Yeah.
So we get them the first 4 days of the week. So we have the first 8 matchups, and then next podcast we can talk about the results of that first round, and then the next week we will finish it off.
Beautiful. I cannot wait. This is going to be a lot of fun.
It's gonna be a good time.
Great time.
Gonna be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah. Do you have more time or do you want to get going on your vacation? This is kind of a quick emergency podcast.
Yeah, we kind of had to redo this one. Well, we have 7 minutes left on this Zoom call. So if you have anything else you want to talk about, now is the time.
Yeah. Okay. So this was actually a question from a fan that I've kind of tweaked a little bit. If the Jets play poorly, how long until Shovel Dayoff is on the hot seat and how long until trades are made?
So I think trades are coming a lot sooner than Chevy being on the hot seat. We know true north. I don't think that they're going to be getting rid of Chevy anytime soon, especially with a new coach, because if you get rid of the GM, you're going to also be getting rid of the coach come the end of the season, most likely, because whoever you bring in is going to want to bring in their own guy. So I don't think Chevy's on the hot seat anytime soon. I do think he doesn't have an easy job. It's not easy to convince guys to come to Winnipeg. So as much as we say, oh, he should do more in free agency, maybe he's trying. So I don't think you can really it's hard to take free agency into account there. Behind closed doors, who knows what's actually going on and who they've tried to go after. I think you have to look at his trades, which we did last week, and he has a lot of wins. We were looking for a couple losses and we had trouble finding some of them.
I think we found 2, and those were hindsight losses too. And they weren't even that big of L's.
Yeah. Well, the Hayes trade was pretty bad, but at the time we're coming off sexy. Them trading for Stastny. He was a really solid guy in New York. He ended up not really gelling with the team, but I do think that was a loss trade wise. And there was one other that we had talked about, but I do think you have to look at his trades more than his free agency moves, and also drafting. I think other than trading up for Logan Stanley was tough. And taking Vesalainen in the first round was tough. But other than that, they've had some good first round picks. I guess Roslovic, but again, they've had some really good, Scheifele was an unbelievable pick. Trouba was a really good pick. Didn't work out for him in Winnipeg.
But we got Pionk.
Thinking back, Morrissey's a solid pick. We did get Pionk. Hinola, when he finally gets into the NHL, I think is going to be a good pick. So Hellebuck was further down. Kyle Connor, unreal. So they've had a lot of really good picks. I think you have to look at that, and I don't think they'll be getting rid of him anytime soon. Definitely not during the season. I could see potentially it happening after the season if the Jets miss the playoffs by a lot. But if they start the season 5-15, I could see it potentially happening. But I don't think that's going to be how they start the season. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. As far as trades go, I do think by American Thanksgiving, and if the Jets are well out of a playoff spot, they might start to try and move some pieces, but they might just wait until closer to the trade deadline when teams get a little more desperate. And they also kind of can see how their season's going. You might be able to get a bit more, especially for a guy with another year after this. So who really knows what ends up happening with that? But I think the Jets are they might make 1 or 2 more moves before the season starts. I hope
you still got four Schmil in cap space, I believe 4 or 6.
I think it's closer to 6. I think it's somewhere right in the middle of there, but
yeah.
The Appleton contract was more than we expected. So I think it's a little closer to 6, but I don't think, I don't know what UFAs are left out there. So they might try and trade for an RFA who's not signing with his team and see if that works. But right now, I don't see any massive trades coming during the season of guys moving out. They might bring a guy in, but right now I think it's just going to be status quo, which is what we're kind of getting used to as Jets fans.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is what we've known for 11 years, and this is probably what we'll know for another 6.
At least.
All right. So that's pretty well it for this emergency podcast. Thank you so much for hopping on during your vacation, Sam.
Absolutely. I'm always happy to talk Jets.
Oh, I know you are. So yeah, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week with a more full podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Tell everybody about this podcast.
Tell your friends and family.
Tell your friends and family. Tell your aunties about this podcast.
I don't know how that started, but we're running with it.
We are running with it.
Follow us on social media. I think at Jets Nation is all the socials.
JetsNation.ca, basically all the socials. Find us, follow us. We would appreciate it. I'm with Flames Nation now. I'm contributing to them as well. Boo earns.
Don't follow them.
Make it a waste. Make it a waste of an acquisition on their part. But yeah, no, just give us a follow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, Angus Hout. Sam?
I'm on Instagram, Sam Brownell Radio. Twitter,
Excellent.
I don't tweet much, but you can find me at sbrownell12.
Beautiful.
There's lots of just Jets and Vikings retweets on there if that's what you're into.
We'll take it. And I mean, tune into the noon hour edition of Ag Review on 7:30 CKDM.
Yeah, and my show. Not next week, I'm off, but the week after, noon hour edition of Ag Review.
Yeah, give lots.
Learn about some agriculture.
Honestly, I'd live for the for the almanac every day.
The almanac's good. Yeah, always interesting.
Tune in. Support us as much as you can, and tweet at Oilers Nation to bring back jetsnation.ca. We need this website to come back. There's not enough Jets content out there. So get mad, get loud, and tell everyone about this podcast. It would be greatly appreciated.
Have a great week.
Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Sunday. Peace.
See ya.
Yeah.